Kaitani. And I started this initiative, I'm Wiser, Knowledge by Experience, it was conceptualized because we wanted to bring industry experts to the young adults. I felt that we meet a lot of people in our social lives, in our professional lives, but there is no connect to the next generation, and there's no transfer of knowledge to them on a lot of critical aspects which are never really ever taught in any school syllabus. So this is what we seek to do. And we have with us today Neerja Ganesh. For those of you that don't know about her, she is the Director Relationships at the National Education Society of Karnataka, which has 17 institutions under it, National College being one of them. Her focus is to ensure that the curriculum of the institution is relevant to the current and future industry needs. She is also a freelance consultant and conducts various training programs and workshops on leadership and behavior. She is also a thought leader associated with reputed training organizations, Inroads Leadership Development and Quinergy Leadership Development. She coaches people to progress in their careers. So prior to this role, Neerja Ganesh's professional experience of 25 years has been in the information technology industry, managing large teams, delivery of IT projects, operational excellence, and customer delight for large banking captives. She has mentored and coached new leaders, first-time leaders, to understand their leadership style, utilize their strengths to grow themselves and their teams. She has a very strong inclination to get women of our country have a positive mindset and become confident and go out and reach their potential. She has driven diversity and inclusion programs in her organizations and has volunteered and mentored outside her organizations. She was heading Jobs for Her Foundation, which has been set up to bridge the gender gap in our country. She's been invited by many, many prestigious forums like Lenin, PMI, TIE, and even the MIT. So we're very, very honored that she is here with us today for this special session for our young adults. Over to you, Neerja. Looking forward to this wonderful session with you.
Thank you so much, Parveen, for having me on this platform. And, I never miss an opportunity while I seek opportunities, but I will never miss an opportunity if someone were to approach me to say that, I must talk to anyone, but in particular, the younger generation of today, because that's what I have realized while I got into the path of helping women, which is where it started, and I moved out of my corporate career and I thought, let me do something about it. But eventually I realized that let's catch them young. So I'm really, really thrilled that, we have a young audience today, and hopefully there'll be at least one or two takeaways for them, which they can implement immediately. That's the, idea.
True. So the topic for today, as we all know, is about visualizing our goals and achieving our dreams. So it sounds like a very large topic. So let's really start with how does one really visualize any goal?
Sure. The goal is a big ticket item. So I don't know whether you heard the story of, the big rocks, but if you were to kind of put in small pebbles or even sand into a bottle, after you fill it with the sand, it's very hard to put in, a big rock into it. So the story goes that you first put in all your big rocks, and then you put in, these smaller ones, because they will still, find some place and, fit inside that jar. And then you finally put in that sand, which will still find some place and, kind of fill in the jar. So it's very, very important for you to kind of identify those big rocks that you have in your life, which could be, 5 years away, 10 years away, whatever it is. And then also bring in those smaller aspects. But each of them is a goal. And as if you've already read some literature around the goal, we expect the goals to be SMART, right? SMART, and that's an acronym, and we can talk more about it. Because just saying that, for example, if you want to write a book, my daughter keeps saying, I want to be a bestseller. I mean, it's a nice goal, but how do you kind of say you are a bestseller or not? Did you achieve your goal or not? Do you want to be a bestseller at 50, or do you want to be a bestseller at 15? And what kind of a bestseller? I mean, is it like, a small tiny book for children, or is it like a crime story, which is 5,000 pages, or a 500-page book, right? So you have to make it really very, very specific. You have to have, so the SMART really means that you have a very specific goal, and you are able to measure it. You are able to achieve it. So it should be, goals are also supposed to be audacious. No one is saying that, have, small goals. You can have big, audacious goals. But unless and until you realize that they are achievable, you'll get scared of your own goals. So make them achievable also. And of course, the R&T stand for, they should be reliable, and they should be timely, time bound. As I said, by 15 or by 50. So we will drill into this a lot more as we go into the session. But the importance of having a goal is to kind of ensure that you then get into a rhythm, a discipline, a path that you can follow and eventually achieve the goal. And it's not that you always achieve the goal. And if you don't achieve that big audacious goal that you set yourself up for, doesn't matter. But at least you have traveled that path. If a 2020 comes in, there is every possibility, that many of our goals go away. For example, an Airbnb was doing so very well and they had to shut shop because of a 2020. That doesn't mean that you did not achieve. So you also need to keep in mind that this is a learning journey. And while you set out to do something, there are certain things that you learned along the path, and you realize that certain aspects which could be in your control or outside of your control needed you to kind of shift your goal from here to there, which is also perfectly fine. But as long as you're moving in that direction, a direction that you have set for yourself with your own goals, and that is also something that I really, really impress upon people. Is it your goal? Right? Many of us just want to follow what everybody else has done, especially, in the younger generation, in the school. What do you want to do? What are the subjects that you will choose when you finish your 10th, when you finish your 12th? It's usually, a herd mentality, because that's what everybody else is doing. So I think let's all take science because that's the in thing. Or I think everybody needs to go abroad, to do their undergraduate because that's the in thing. And I have nothing against any of these, okay? Please pursue science. Please go wherever you want to study. That's what you want to do. Not because, everybody else, your neighbor and, somebody else did it. You might feel that that is a good thing to do because they seem to have been successful, right? So somebody went and studied in a particular university, a particular course, and landed a job, because eventually I think today's success, people start measuring it with what kind of a company are you working in, how much money do you make out of it. But please remember that life is much more holistic, and there are many other aspects of life that you need to really evaluate when it comes to goal. But if you're looking at a career goal, and if you saw somebody else making, this amount of money, and hence you feel that that's the course to be taken, that's the university to go to, it's very much possible that that's not what your appetite is. That's not what your passion is. So please ensure you figure out what your goal is. What is your passion? What is your dream? And even if it is totally different to the rest of the world, right? It doesn't matter. You will walk your path and you will be successful much better than everybody else who's walked the other path, because it is your own, passion and your own goal. So that's how I would like to start this topic with.
That's lovely. I think I really liked the story about the rock and the sand. It made so much sense. And therefore, once you've visualized that goal and you have to achieve your dream, there's a big gap between the two. So it's like a ladder. How would you say that the steps really need to be there to get there? Because sometimes it seems so difficult.
Yeah. So if you, let me, kind of break down that SMART for, everyone. So I just kind of, wrote down, because I know when it is a goal, the smart will come into the picture. So I just, made some notes for myself. So let's look at, supposing the goal is like, if you were to ask me what I want to do today. So I have one line statement which says that I really want to make an impact on every person that I meet or I come across. That's one kind of, a big kind of a mission vision statement that I have. Now, if you were to break that down into, a SMART goal. So first of all, this can be the specific goal that I wish to create an impact on every individual that I meet in life. It could be, a goal, a specific goal. The S could be, that. But is it measurable? Have I made it measurable to say, how many people do I want to make an impact? So if you were to look at my story is that 25 years, like as Parveen said, I was in a corporate IT career. And why did I choose that? I think that was the in thing to do. As I was finishing up my studies, IT was booming. I did an IT course and I got, into an IT company, and I just continued, that track for 25 years. I quit from the corporate in 2017. And again, it was not a very intentional thing that, okay, I'm done with the corporate or anything like that. There were challenges at home. I needed to give more attention to, all the people who supported me through my 25 years of career. So I chose to, of course, not quit, but I kind of was negotiating at my organization to say, I will not be taking a role which has so much of travel, because I really wanted to be at home. I was doing a lot of travel in those days. And that didn't come by. But I was very, very clear in my list of priorities that at this point in time, I wanted to be with the family. So I will not, pick up a role which is going to take me away from them, and I quit. And hence I did not want to go back to a corporate job, because I knew at some point in time, the travel pressures will come in, whichever company you go to. So I was thinking, what should I do? But what had happened was, when I was in Capgemini, which is my last job in 2016, I quit at 2017. I kind of came across this set of women who had taken a career break. I didn't understand what it meant to take a career break and what were the challenges of women who have taken a career break, because I never took one. So I kind of could never empathize with that. But in 2016, I went to a conference where I met these women, and I realized that I wanted to do something for them. That was something in my mind. Now, what it would be, how I could make a difference, none of this I knew. But I knew that I wanted to do something for them, right? So now that could be a goal. Now, because it was as simple as that I want to make a difference, I was okay if I was able to make impact to even one person. Okay, it was okay for me. Whoever came my way, I thought I will just help them. So these women that I met at the conference, I took their CVs and I put it, in my own company, and I, forced the managers to, interview them and all of that. And eventually I've done so many things that I know that it has impacted thousands of women, right? So that's one way of looking at a goal. The other way could be that the M, right? So you really want to make it measurable. In my case, I said, even if one is there, I'm happy with it. So I achieved it on day one, probably. But I have kept at it, and hence, I have, impacted many more. But the other way could be that you make it very measurable by saying that I want to impact, say, not women. Let's look at, maybe kids. I want to impact 1,000 kids, every month. I want to make a difference to 1,000 underprivileged kids every month. So that's your measurable goal, right? And in that, every month, I'm also giving a time limit to say that 1,000 is a number that I want to achieve in a month. Okay. Now, where does the achievable fact come in? You need to figure out, how do I achieve this 1,000? Is it something that is achievable in today's day and age? For example, if I had thought of this in 2019, I might have said, how do I achieve the 1,000? Let me rope in 10 government schools, each having 100 students, right? And I have some programs in plan in my head, right? Like Chandni said that she's going to launch her mentoring platform, and she's going to conduct something on her own. Similarly, Nirja might have something in mind for these 100 students or the 1,000 students. So I will go to every school. Maybe I plan out a detailed timetable that school one, on Mondays I go and I engage with these students. Tuesdays I go to school. So this is my time table, and this is my mechanics of making that happen. But is that doable? Maybe in 2019 it was doable. In 2020, going into every school is not doable, right? So depending on when you are, where you are, when you define your goals, you also have to ensure that they are achievable goals. Of course, you can still probably achieve the 1,000 in an online mode also, maybe. But look at my goal. My goal is specifically to reach out to those thousands underprivileged kids. So online is something which is just not possible because these are not kids who are going to have smart devices like you and I, right? So which means then I have to really think of a different strategy to kind of, do this. Um, so there could be different things I could do. One, I will say, okay, if my goal was that the 1,000 kids I'm going to achieve by 2021, maybe I shift the goal itself, saying that, okay, 2020 happened. It was not in my control. And I don't know when schools are going to reopen. I really want to only have in-person, talks with the students. I don't think online is the way I want to. So let me shift my goal. I make it 2022. But do we know that by 2022 schools will reopen? I have no idea. Correct? Or I could say, no, let me look at 500 students. I will keep the goal still, but I will keep it as 500 students and find a different way. Maybe I'll make a community engagement model. So I can't go to a school because kids are not coming to a school. But of course, there are communities, right? There might be, that there are certain communities where you have a ton of kids and you can probably go and make some community engagement model. Or I decide, I find an online mechanism. So first my target will be how do I empower these kids with a phone or some smart device and then look at. So that is the, achievable part of it. Depending on where you are, when you are looking at a goal, how achievable is it? Those numbers that you have decided and that timeline that you have decided, the mechanics of achieving that is what you are going to kind of think through with the A and the R. Because your R is also how relevant is the goal, correct? I think for us today, definitely the goal of going to 1,000 underprivileged kids, making an impact, which means that I really want them to start thinking of themselves, their future, holistic life is very, very relevant. Sometimes you may have started off with a goal, but come a pandemic, that goal itself might become very irrelevant. Okay, so you may want to use the learnings of that journey that you've already gotten into and see what is most relevant today and then change your goal to that. So like if I again go back to my example, when I said that I want to make an impact and I started with, the women on a career break, then I realized that there is this platform called as Jobs for Her. Because where do you find women on a career break? Of course, I went to a conference, I met some people, I took their CVs and I did whatever I could do with them. But where do you find otherwise? I can't, shout at my rooftop and say, hey, I want to, help women on a career break. So I figured out that there are platforms which are existing. And all I have to do was, go and sign up as a mentor on that platform. So the women come to the platform and I'm available to them for mentoring. And eventually I went on to head the Jobs for Her Foundation because, they found my passion and they were starting a not-for-profit foundation. They asked me to head it. And through that role, I could really impact much more. But during that time, I realized, why is it that, we should wait for someone to work, take a career break, and then need to be helped? Can we help them much earlier? So my goal still remains the same, which is help, people who I come across or, I meet and want to create a positive impact on them. But I have just said my audience is changing over a period of time. So now I want to catch them young. So I'm finding other platforms where you have, younger kids. I may go and work in schools and colleges where I can create that impact. And it may not necessarily be just, one-on-one sessions or, group sessions. I realize that to do this outreach, it is also good enough for you to, write. And there are so many people who will come and read either your blog or your LinkedIn or something like that. So I started writing. So, there are different ways to achieve your goal, which is what is going to come up in your A and R, which is, achievable and in your resourcefulness, whether, it is relevant and what are the kind of resources you're going to bring in to ensure you achieve those goals. And of course, the T is time bound. Even if one of these is missing, it's not a goal because you will never know whether you achieved it or not. It's just going to be like my daughter. I want to be a bestseller author. But if I don't achieve that goal, then I will never know whether I achieved it or not. So I think There's nothing else beyond that. Okay. And hence she is getting, diverted into so many other things. It might be relevant to writing, but I don't know whether she'll eventually become a best-selling author or not. Because she has not fixed those timelines for her. That, by this year, I should have written this kind of a book, which is, whatever. So that's how you kind of make it very, very concrete for yourselves. But before that, let it be your own goal. Please don't go with what the rest of the world is doing. What is it that you are passionate about? Pursue that. If I can, take another example again of my own daughter, right? Because I realize that there are, students of much younger age here. So the typical parent, who will go and, sit with their child and say, what do you want to do in life? What is the course that you want to do after 10th standard? That kind of a conversation I was having with my daughter when she was in the 8th. She had no clue. She had no clue what she wanted to do. So we said, okay, let's start looking at what is it that you like? What are those subjects that you like? Let's start there. Let's ground up, right? So she said the only subjects she likes is maths and English. These are the two things. She doesn't like any of the other subjects. And of course, the English is there because she loves to read, she loves to write. She does write. So she has actually published a short story, which is on Amazon. And she writes a lot. So she has a blog site and things like that. So that's the English that is coming from, right? And the math. So we started talking about what could be a possible career option. And of course, being an author is a definite, career option. But you also have to look at it a little practically, because I was saying that you also have to ensure that it gives you the money to put food on the table. So, it could. You might, your first book might, kind of hit the stands and you make all the money, but it could also not, right? So you also have to have a parallel, kind of a thing. So let's see what you could do with your math while you keep at writing. And then we evaluated, of course, she didn't like bio. So, the medicine route went out of the way. We evaluated engineering. She said, what is engineering? Very difficult question for me to answer. So I had to actually tell her, these are the various streams in engineering. And this is what you will do if you do an aeronautical, this is what you will do with the computer science. She didn't like any of it. None of that. So then we got down to what is it that you can do with math, right? And that is when, and my daughter is in first year undergrad now. So this I'm talking about at least 4 or 5 years ago. This stream of data analysis was picking up. Okay. So I said, I think data analysis needs a lot of math. Let's look at that. And between her and we sat and did a lot of YouTube videos. We looked at it and she understood very basic level, what is data analysis? And she said, this is good. I think, I will pursue that. And that's how she went on to the path of choosing subjects, which will probably take her towards that stream. So at that point in time, all we knew was, data analysis, you need maths, you need statistics, and you need computer science. So we figured out what colleges had this combination. I live in Bangalore. There is Christ University in Bangalore, and they had this very combination, maths, statistics, computer science. So it was set. The goal was set in her head that she wants to, join Christ University for her undergrad and for this particular course. So the minute that goal is set, then you start working towards it. So what do you have to do? So you have to ensure that you are able to crack the Christ entrance. How do you crack the, Christ entrance? So what are the things that you have to study? What are the things, it's not only, a written test, right? There's a lot of aptitude, there's a lot of interviews. So you need to be kind of, have a holistic personality and all of that. So she started working towards that. Of course, in this path, in 2 years later, we realized that there are many other colleges which have data science courses today, because data science is catching up so much that there are a lot of colleges which are offering undergrad courses, for data science itself. So we evaluated that, whether you want to go to this college and pick the data science course, or you want to keep it open as a math, stats, computer science. So that's the journey. So that's, you kind of, keep moving, but moving in the direction where you eventually want to go. So I hope, it's a long answer, but hopefully, it kind of has given some inputs and tips.
Definitely.
I think Parveen is having some network issues. So I'm just jumping in. But Aditya, you had a question?
I have a question.
There are some things on the chat which I'm not looking at, but I'll assume Chandni
I
will.
have a
Oh, you writing?
Yes.
My first question is, what inspired you to take part in this profession?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Chandni. If you can,
My
or
question was, what inspired you to take part in this profession?
the profession of helping people.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, as I told you, I was in the IT world, in the corporate world for 25 years. Like any other person, I've grown the ranks, right? So I started as a programmer, and then after a few years, I went to become a team lead, project manager, portfolio manager, and eventually went on to head a business unit. So all the time, I had teams, small or big, and my style to work with people has always been like a coach. So I'm never directive. Okay. So if I have a team of 5 people, I will never say, go do this. So if Aditya is part of my team and there's a project, then I'll explain the project to Aditya and probably Minesh and Rizwan and say, okay, this is the project and each of you has these responsibilities. We have to deliver this by this timeline. Go ahead and do it. I'm available for any support. So figure out, how you want to deal with this and ensure that we meet the timeline, we meet the quality targets. And I always have the coach mentality versus a manager who will say, you will do this like this, kind of give every breakdown and, kind of breathe down their neck to say, did you do it? Did you do it? Do it? Because I believe that empowering people and giving them that freedom will get you better outcomes. Of course, there's a risk with it. The risk could be that you have a particular team member who is not equipped to work in that setup. When I say he's not equipped or she's not equipped, may not have the skills, right? Doesn't know where to start, where to end. So if you have a team member who doesn't have the skills or doesn't have the attitude to work, then you are running a risk. Okay, but I was willing to take that risk because in life, always remember it's an 80-20 rule. 80% of the times things will work, 20% of the time it will not. So I'm willing to take the 20% risk. But even if I were to let go and say, hey, do the things, of course, as a manager, I will keep track on, are we meeting the milestones? So while there is a big goal, the project delivery date is, say May 2021, I will have monthly milestones, right? Supposing, the project delivery is that I want to, launch this gaming platform by May 2021. First, you will develop some kind of a prototype. Then you will, develop, other features. You'll put some backend data. Then there will be some testing. So there are milestones. So I will keep tracking the milestones are, on track or not. That way I can actually pull it back. I can probably, plunge in and, either change resources or guide people and things like that. So since my approach has been like that, what I've seen is people have worked much better. And when they have come back to me for support, again, I have not given them tips on how to do things. If they have come back with roadblocks, I've not said, hey, I think if you do this, you will be able to. I have shared my experiences with them to say that, I was in a similar situation and this is what I did. It worked, it didn't work. So that it will stimulate them to think on their own and find out their own solutions. And this has really, really worked. So I realized that experience sharing is really rich. Let me give you an example from my jobs for her journey. There was this lady, so there are many women who've taken a break, right? And I've been mentoring them. So there was one lady who got a job after a long break, 5 years ka break. And she went for an interview on a Thursday and they told her to join on Friday. Now she had I think 4-year-old and on Friday, she told her husband to babysit and went to the job. And on Saturday, she went and found a daycare so that the child can go to the daycare after school. She went back to work. 1 week, it went perfectly fine. So she was working, child went to school, went to daycare, all worked well. Week 2, the child refused to go to the daycare. She was crying. And, as a mother, you don't know what to do. You're seeing the child is crying, doesn't want to go to daycare. So how do I manage this? And she called me. I remember the call. I was coming back from Capgemini. I was in a cab at 8 o'clock in the evening, I think. And she called me and she said, I'm in a situation like this. The daughter doesn't want to go to a daycare. How do I go to work? If I don't go to work, I can't take leave. I'm just 1 week into the organization. She doesn't want to do a daycare. I mean, she just didn't know what to do. And all I told her was, why don't you call your manager and tell the person of your current situation and explain to them why is the situation like this? Because you did not have time to settle this child in the daycare. Correct. You on Saturday you admitted because the office wanted you to start immediately. Had they given you a week or 2 weeks, you could have gone with the child, settled the child in the daycare, found out what's working, not working, and from day one you would have been productive. Now, because you didn't give that settling in time, both the office didn't give you and you didn't give to the child, there is this situation. So why don't you request whether you can work from home for 1 week, which means that in the morning, of course, the child is in school, so you can do some work. And then when the child comes back, you go with the child to the daycare to see what is happening and fix whatever is not working for her, right? And later in the evening, once your husband is back, you kind of pick up the rest of the work and finish the office work. She said, how can I do this? I am like, 1 week into the job. How can even I request such things? And I told her, what's the harm? Right? Anyways, you don't have a solution now. Either you will quit the job again because your child is not fitting into the daycare, or you will leave a crying child into the daycare and go to work. And your, mind will not be there. You will not be able to be productive. So you have no other options. Why don't you just discuss it with your manager? What's the worst that can happen? He or she will say, no, I can't give you this work from home facility. That's the worst, right? Then we'll figure out something else. This was probably a 5-minute chat I had at 8 p.m. on a call as I'm coming home from the office. 15 minutes later, she called me back and she said, I can't thank you enough for this advice, because when I spoke to my manager, she said, bring the child to the office tomorrow. Let's see what happens. And she just took the child to the office. Of course, the school would have probably, gone off. She must have bunked school. But in that one day that she took the child to the office, the rest of the team, made the child, feel good on that day, and kind of explained what the mother does at office and why it is important for the mother, and hence why it is important for the child to, be at the daycare so the mother can work and all of that. And the next day, the child said, okay, I understand. Let me go to the daycare, and figured out. I mean, she must have said, I don't like this. Maybe a fruit that they are giving her or something. Kuch to problem hoga. She said, okay, that it is. But she was open to going to the daycare. And she said, Nirja, I can't believe it. Such a simple solution. And that is, from where does that solution come? It comes from the experience that I have had of working in an organization, having been a manager, having seen other mothers with younger kids. And hence, you are able to kind of share that experience and, give a valid suggestion. So that is the reason I realized, what am I doing? At the end of the day, I'm not losing anything. I'm only sharing my experiences in some way. And if it can benefit somebody else to such an extent, why stop sharing? So I've gone on to the path of, being on mentoring portals. I've headed, organizations which are, able to create this kind of an impact. I do a lot of pro bono work in this space, and eventually realized that, you can do outreach by writing. So I write a lot. As I told in the beginning of the session, any opportunity to address audiences, I don't let go. I come and speak. And I'm hoping that I can do more of that. Hope that answered your question, Aditya.
Yeah, that answered my question. And my second question is, how do you set a clear goal for yourself?
So that was something that I was trying to explain, right? In terms of finding out what your passion and purpose is. So I gave an example of mine where I said that I really want to kind of impact people that I meet. And then I broke it down into how can I impact. Uh, or I gave you the example of my daughter, where we spoke about what is it that you like to do. I also gave a similar example of daughter where she's not figured out about the book while she wants to write a book. So be very, very clear about what you like to do, what energizes you, what are you passionate about, what is it that kind of gives you that aha moment. If you are in school, then what are those aspects in school that you like, starting from subjects, starting from, maybe your extracurricular activities. There might be certain things, which you're drawn towards, and certain other things which you kind of just don't like. So start from there and think about what possibilities exist in that space. There may already be possibilities. Like for me, it was very easy for me to go and attach myself to the Jobs for Her Foundation, right? But that is because there was a Jobs for Her. But the person who started Jobs for Her, when she realized that she wanted to, help women on a career break, there was nothing. So she started a platform, correct? So if there are possibilities already existing, then you start, walking that path. So then you do the course, you kind of get jobs in that space, or if you don't find those possibilities existing, but you see a very, very big need to impact, like for example, why did Parveen and Chandni and all of you have come together to start a platform like this to engage with the students? Because there was a need. The students are not getting any kind of an exposure to real experts from the industry who will tell you what exists out in the industry. What is it which is more relevant? And hence you came up with your platform, right? So find out what you're good at, what you like, what drives you, what passions you have. And along with that, what is the current, say the problems that exist. And with all of this, you can possibly, build your goal. It's not going to happen overnight. Let me be very clear about that. But eventually it will. So even in the case of my daughter, while we started as data science, and then we now are at a college which is offering math, statistics, computer science, and she is in that. But to reach that goal of becoming a data scientist is going to take another 5 to 10 years, right? And maybe midway, she might feel, so right now she's still thinking of, if I want to be a data scientist, what is the domain that I want to do? And she was looking at, she had clearly said no finance, but she liked, I think, marketing or retail. So, there are so many aspects, and you will hone in and you will fine tune it as you go along. So don't worry about it. It cannot be a one-line statement, I want to be a data science working at Google and cracking, the way the Google search works. That's, you'll probably ultimately reach there, but start small today.
I have a question.
Yes, Ahana.
What if your goals keep changing?
For sure. So, see, goals are the big rocks, as I told you, okay? And hence, they are going to be a little far away from today. So it may take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, correct? And to be able to reach that 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you should have shorter milestones to track. So in my example of, I want to, for example, impact 1,000 kids in 1 year, what will be my shorter milestones? My shorter milestones will be that in a year, I have 12 months. So say January, I am able to impact 50. February, I'm able to impact 50 plus 75. I bring in new people, 75 more kids. So with that math, by the end of the year, I might have impacted 1,000, correct? So my milestones are January 50, and I have to track to that. February, another addition of 75. So I keep tracking. And in the process, if a 2020 comes in and I realize it is impossible to kind of, get to that 1,000, then maybe I change my goal completely. Okay. But in a good, year, you are probably able to achieve, say, 500. You're not still able to make your 1,000. You don't have to change your goal. See, the goal is, there are many aspects of the goal. The goal is I want to impact underprivileged kids. I want to kind of, get them to dream and, have a hope and go and, pursue their dreams and all of that. It's just that the number is not, I have not been able to achieve. But again, if I am not keeping track of that number 1,000, I just kind of, keep doing, how do you, there are various ways in which you can build this engagement with 1,000 kids. One is I go to schools. The second could be I develop an online model. if it is not necessarily underprivileged kids and these kids have access to online, then I say, okay, fine, let me start using social media to create the impact. So when you start thinking of social media to create the impact, you decide which is the social media. So every month you're checking, have I added 10 new followers? Have I added 100 new followers? And are they really engaging with me? Am I able to create that impact or not? Somewhere by the end of June, if I have not been able to reach the mid-level mark, then I have to really sit down and think what's not working, right? So you will not reach till the end of the year or till the end of 5 years to realize you have not met your goals. You will take corrective action. So that's why I'm feeling, I say that the goals may not necessarily change. The way you are going to progress and still reach that goal may change. Okay. So like in my case, I'm thinking that next year, I want to write a book. In terms of the outreach that I have done talks, I've been on mentoring platforms, I've done one-on-one, I have written blogs. I'm thinking that maybe, I should compile everything and put out a book. So if you were to ask me, has my goal changed? Now you said you want to impact people, and for 2021, you're saying you want to write a book. So has your goal changed? No, my goal is not changed. My goal is still I want to impact people. But the way I'm thinking I will do that impact in 2021 is by writing a book. Versus somebody else, like my daughter, who wants to become a bestseller author. So for her, goal is writing a book, right? So for her, the goal is writing a book. For me, it is to impact people. But the way both of us are going to do is by writing. So usually goals will not change. The way you go and reach them, might change. The process will change. Maybe the timeline changes. Maybe the numbers may change. Maybe the metrics around it, how do you measure success may change. But yes, again, I go back to the same 2020 example. If you've been in a bad year like this, then there is every chance that your goal has to change. And I would really recommend that you change it. You find out what is more pertinent and relevant for a year like 2020. For an Airbnb, I'm sure they're sitting down and thinking, what is it that they should do differently, right? They have had so much of learnings, and again 2020 would have given them many more learnings, and they will realize this is the sector that we need to target, and hence you will change the entire big audacious goal. But otherwise, I don't think goals need to change or will change.
Thank you. My next question is, what are the basic steps you need to make your goal into reality?
Okay, so one is, of course, the first thing is, it should be your goal. If it is not your goal, very, very hard to make it a reality. And I really stress upon that, because I think today we have a problem there. We really don't know what we want, or people don't allow us, to kind of really do what we want. And I know there's a platform where there could be parents, there could be educators and all of that. And I would really, tell them to encourage the students, the kids to kind of figure out what is it that they want. Again, I'll go back to my story of my daughter. So when we realized that what she wants to do was data science, and maybe a possibility is a data science, right? Because that was just an exploration, because she loved math. And then we said, okay, we'll do a math, stats, computer science as a BSc degree. You can imagine, right? So she was in the ICSE, school, and she was a topper in the school. And we said, what does it take to reach the BSc degree in Christ University? You just need to be good at your core subjects, right? You need to be good in your math. And of course, you need to do a pre-university, the 11th and 12th, you probably need to take maths and computer science as subjects. And what's available to us here is a physics, chemistry, maths, computer science. That's the usual, kind of a combination that's available in 11th and 12th. So if you want to do just a physics, chemistry, maths, computer science, do you really need to be in the ICSE, kind of a syllabus? Was a question that we asked ourselves. It is a very hard syllabus. And for my daughter, kind of doing a lot of theory was very, very tough for her. ICSE comes with its, and I'm sorry if there are kids from ICSE, I don't want to discourage anyone, but I'm just saying this is our evaluation of what my daughter was going through. Social studies was impossible for her because there's a lot of theory. You have to remember from every nook to corner, what is the picture, and under the picture, they will have written one line. You have to put that in your head because there'll be one fill in the blank from that and all of that. She was really struggling with that. So if the eventual thing is a math, statistics, computer science, which is a BSc, why do we need to do an ICSE was a question that we asked. Can we not move to a Karnataka state board, which also offers, social studies will offer math and which offer everything, but it may not necessarily be that harsh on you with regards to the amount of theory that you have to cram in. Okay. And she decided to move to the Karnataka state board. Of course, everyone, was zapped, said why? Because usually state boards are not really considered, that very high in the, regime of our school education. But she was very clear. I will study my 10th, I will pass out, I will do a physics, chemistry, maths, computer science, 11th and 12th, and I'll go join Christ University, BSc Maths, Statistics, Computer Science, because my aim is data science, correct? So, and it was a very hatke kind of a thing. Never ever imagined that, somebody who's a topper is moving to a Karnataka state board. She went and she did her 11th, 12th, and she never took the competitive exams, which everybody else was taking, the CETs, the JEs and all of that. She very, straightforward went into Christ and she's joined this. So if it is your goal, it is your dream, it is your passion, first figure that out for yourself and have the conversation with your parents to say that eventually this is what I want to do. And let me tell you, today the opportunities that are available to all of us, you and me, are immense. Okay, you don't have to think that only if I tread this path which everybody else has done, my seniors have done, is when I will be successful in a career. There are plenty of opportunities, and you can make a success of yourself and your career. But if you're not happy doing it, if that's not your passion area, you tread the path of whoever else has done it in the past, you will not be successful. Because success is not only the job, success is not only the money, success is a holistic thing. Are you happy doing it every day? Do you wake up charged up? Do you want to go to that school? Do you want to go to work? Why would Chandni decide to start something of her own? Because I'm sure, I don't know what you've done in the past, Chandni, but I'm sure, you've realized that this is what is your calling. And hence you've, decided to take that risk and plunge into this. So first step is have your own goal. Okay. The second one is please ensure you have those smaller milestones to track whether you're reaching them. So in my daughter's case again, she kind of at 8th standard felt that she will do the math, statistics, computer science, and hence she did her 10th and moved in. But supposing, she had come to 11th standard and felt that somehow she's not enjoying maths, right? Then maybe it's time for you to, evaluate. Why are you not enjoying maths? So should we actually, look at something else? So have those milestones, checks every now and then to say, are you still on the right track? What did you visualize? Is it something that, is giving you that happiness and you're moving towards it? The third thing which I will say, there is something called as visualize your goal visualization. There are two aspects here. One is that in your mind, you start visualizing your goal. And there are some steps for it. So whatever your goal is, for example, in the example of I want to impact 1,000 kids at the end of 1 year, I will visualize in my mind that I've already achieved this goal. What is it that I am seeing when I have achieved this goal? I first visualize that. And I am seeing that the year that I am able to achieve these 1,000, either I'm being awarded, so I'm on the stage receiving an award that I did this phenomenal work, or I have myself, called for an event where I showcase all these 1,000 kids in some way. I bring them on the stage and they start talking about, their achievements. So I'm visualizing how is it when I achieve my final goal in my mind. So you're feeling good about it, right? Then you start visualizing the steps to reach there. Okay, it's good to dream about the goal, but you should also dream about the steps to reach there. Now, how will I achieve those 1,000? As I said, either I put 10 schools and I go there, or I use social media and I attract my followers. Everything in my head. If I just social media, in my mind, I'm visualizing. I have an Instagram account, I have a LinkedIn, I have a Facebook, and I have, I'm acquiring, people on my social media. So I'm also visualizing in my head, what is the frequency of posts that I'm putting out? Do I do one every day? What is the kind of content I'm putting out? Is it really engaging? So in my mind, I'm thinking all of this. Is it engaging enough for the student to, come and, read the content? So every step that you need to take to reach your goal, start visualizing it. And this is a repeated process, not once. Because your goal is a little far away, right? It's like 5 years down the line. So every day in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and wherever you are, it's like a movie running in your mind, where you're seeing, you're taking the step, you're taking the next step, and finally you're going on stage and receiving that award. Or, you kind of, or maybe the way it is, the minute you kind of cross the 1,000 mark, maybe people are seeking you out, schools are seeking you out. So you could visualize an office where you put this person who is, sitting over there, people are queuing up, and, he's taking the applications from the various schools. Or you could visualize an app, a web-based app where, people can actually put in their application saying, why don't you take my school and my kids also, and, kind of create that impact. So start visualizing that end statement, end goal. How will it be when you achieve? And the steps towards that, every small thing. When you visualize this, also visualize the challenges that come. It's not a, sweet road, right? That it's a bumpy road. So there will be challenges. So think of all the challenges and how you're going to. Supposing you thought that, I'm going to open an Instagram account and every month I'm going to, get 100 followers there. But what if 100 followers are not coming every month? That's your challenge, right? Start visualizing that. What will you do to ensure you bring in those 100 followers? What it does to you is, in your mind, since the movie is running again and again and again, the action becomes that much more easier. The confidence levels are much, much higher because you've already seen the success in your mind. But if you're only seeing the end result and not seeing the process of it, then it's not going to help. You'd also visualize the steps. You have to also, visualize the challenges. You have to also visualize how is it that you're going to break down those challenges so that you're able to achieve. Immediately, it pumps up the confidence levels. You don't get scared in reality when challenges come in. New challenges could come in, which you've never ever visualized. But the confidence level is so high that you are able to go and, kind of deal with it. Seek out mentors. You can't be on this path all alone. And for you, the mentors could be, your teachers, they could be your parents, they could be, platforms like Chandni's, kind of, or, people like me who are available on various platforms or on LinkedIn and things like that. So never, kind of be on your road to your goal alone. Have buddies, have mentors to guide you. So that's a very good process of achieving your goals, the visualization of your goals. And some people also use what is called as a vision board. We don't have time to kind of discuss that in detail. Go and Google it. What is a vision board? It's a very interesting way of putting out your goals on a chart paper or anything, sticking pictures, motivational quotes, and all of that, which kind of pumps you up every day. You look at it every day and you kind of are able to move in the direction of your goal. So look it up and you'll be able to find more material on that. The other thing is also about, in reality, going and seeing it. For example, if I look at my daughter again, or we parents do this very often, right? Study well, otherwise you will not get into a good college. Standard line. If you don't get into a good college, you will not get a good job. No good job, no good money, no good money, no good life, right? A standard thing that we keep saying. Our children will never understand what is a good college and what is a bad college because they've always seen good. We have always provided the very best for them. So how will they know what is not best? Unless you show them that, right? So in my daughter's case, what I did was I just took her to, the best college, maybe the Christ University in Bangalore, and I took her to all the average colleges. I took her to, one of the very low-run colleges also. And she told me she wants to study in Christ. And I told, go and ask that Christ management, the office, what is the cutoff marks to get into this college? If this is where you want to study, because that's the only place where your subjects are there. They told her 98% or something. She said, I want to study there. I said, if you want to study there, you know what you need to get. But that was her goal. I want to get into Christ. Christ means 98%. I will get my 98%. And she worked towards it. Okay. So sometimes you have to actually go and be there to see that. If your goal is to be, kind of a cricket captain, go to the cricket field and see them playing, and see what it charges you up, because you're really seeing it as against in theory you're visualizing it. So these two things together can help you get closer to your goal.
Thank you so much. I think we have a question from Pujita. She was asking that, when she has her goals clear, how does she stay motivated?
So, I told you a few things, right? The minute you start visualizing it, it will motivate you because you're seeing it. In your mind, that movie is playing again and again that you have reached your goal, right? So it will anyway on a daily basis drive you and, motivate you to be on that path. The only reason why despite this, you may feel a bit depressed is when you're not able to reach your smaller milestones. If you don't have those smaller milestones, it is very hard to remain motivated, because 5 years down the line, you would achieve, or 2 years down the line, right? It's a very long period. But if you're having the smaller milestones, every time you reach those smaller milestones, you feel good about it. You should celebrate that smaller milestone. You might still be, miles away from the big audacious goal, but you reach that one shorter milestone, you must celebrate it in some way. That will pep you up to work towards your, second milestone. But if there's a real roadblock which you've not been able to overcome, and a lot of that I have seen, when the pandemic started, I'm sure, we've now figured it out. We know that, it doesn't matter. Corona cannot, change our goals for us. We will still go ahead and, achieve what we want to. But I know the minute it struck, there were a lot of students who were really depressed. I lost my internship. Will I get, my job and things like that? My only suggestion there is don't stop working. Just because you're not having a visibility of how the things will be next year, don't stop working and thinking I should do something very different. Keep moving. Even if it is, moving by an inch, you still have to keep moving and feel good about that 1 inch movement. Today I moved ahead by 1 inch. Tomorrow it is 2 inches. Third day could be 10 inches. Feel good about it. That's the only way to keep yourselves motivated. Of course, you have to have, a circle of peers who are very positive. And, if you're kind of surrounding yourself with other people, who also are very negative and depressed, then it becomes very difficult, right? So ensure you surround yourselves with positive people, attend sessions like this, I definitely will recommend, where you can, interact with the people who will give you the right guidance, but keep moving. That small movement will also take you a long way.
I think that would have answered Pujita's question. Another one that she had is, on
someone else talking.
No, I think there's a little distortion from my end. Sorry.
Sure. No
Sorry. The other one from her end was, say, you have to take on some tasks along the path to your goals that you're not strong at. Like, for example, you want to pursue medicine and there are subjects that you're not strong at all. How do you handle that? Was Pujita's second question.
Okay, all right. So I will first ask, why do you want to pursue medicine? Again, I go back to, is that your dream and your goal, right? Usually we want to do something that kind of makes us feel good, right? So, I like biology, I like chemistry, and hence, I would like to explore options which are around medicine and, microbiology, or, be a doctor or whatever it is. And if you're very clear that despite that, these are subjects that you're not good at, but I still want to be a doctor. If you've been able to answer that very, very truly for yourself, then of course you have to kind of, seek help to get better at this. But I will give you this example of this girl that I spoke to, again, through one of the not-for-profit foundations that I volunteer at. She has finished her 12th. She had finished her 12th and she got some phenomenal marks. Okay, very, very good marks. She comes from a very underprivileged background. And she had written the engineering entrance. She had written the medical entrance. And the engineering and medical, results came out very late this year. The other colleges, I think, had finished off admissions prior, like the degree colleges, the BSc, BCom, BA colleges had, I think, offered admissions much before that. She had wanted to be a doctor. And so the engineering seat also that she was getting, because she comes from an underprivileged background, she can't pay up the fees, right? Because then if she later gets a medical seat, this money will go down the drain. She doesn't have that much money. So though she got an engineering seat, she didn't pay the fees for that. And here medical, she's just waiting. And in her mind, she's thinking, I want to become a doctor. So the girl was brought to me. So I looked at her marks. Phenomenal. She was 100 on 100 in maths. Same age as my daughter. My daughter also wrote the same exam that she wrote. Okay. And my girl also, while she's good at maths, she didn't get 100 in maths. But this girl had got 100 in maths. So I asked her, what is your pet subject? She said maths. Had to be, because that's what has got her 100. Her bio and chemistry were not too great, the marks. And I asked her, where do you struggle? And I think she said chemistry or bio, one of these two, she said. Then I said, okay, why do you want to be a doctor? She said, I want to serve the community. I want to serve the world. And I told her, you can always serve the world in many other ways. So her goal is, I want to serve the world. And she's thinking the only way to do it is by becoming a doctor. And my job was only to tell her that there are many, many, many ways you can serve the world. And you will be able to serve the world if you choose a particular combination and you study something and get into a job or a career where you are happy. And eventually that will kind of, help you create that impact that you had wanted. And I told her about, again, I knew this because, for my girl also, I had done the research about the data science course. I knew of a fantastic combination of this data science in Bangalore. And you know what? She had applied there. She had applied, but she had not paid up the fees because the rest of the world was telling her, you are getting an engineering seat, go for that. And she was waiting and waiting and waiting. I said, this is a fantastic combination with the kind of marks you've got and what I'm seeing in terms of your aptitude. If you do this course, you will land a good job and you will be able to create the impact, through variety of options. But she had not gone to college. College had already started. She had not paid up the fees. So all we did was call it up the college and said, is there an option for this girl to still come? And they said, yeah, let her come and speak. And she went and spoke and they actually looked at her marks and they took her in. So my question to whoever has written this is, why do you want to become a doctor? Please be very, very clear. There has to be a very clear impetus for that. If it is something like this other girl who wants to serve the world, then maybe these are not the subjects, right, that you are good at. And hence maybe this is not the way you will serve the world. You have to find other ways of serving the world. Like what I'm also doing is serving the world. I'm not a doctor. But what am I good at? I'm good at counseling. I'm good at mentoring. I'm, with my experience. So I have chosen this way to kind of serve the world. So ask yourselves, why do I want to become a doctor? Because these are not the things I'm good at. Maybe I'm not. And why are you not good at? Because it doesn't interest you. I'm sorry, I'm going ahead. You like bio, so you want to do medicine. So which is a subject that you're not able to score enough or you're struggling with?
Pujita, you can jump in and
math.
answer.
Which class are you in?
See.
Eighth, right? So, and why is it that you're struggling with math? What is the problem with the problems in math?
I don't really get interested in it, and yeah, I'm not really interested in it, and that's why I don't really get the.
Yeah. So, our education system is such that till 10th we have to do all these subjects. And I'll tell you one more thing, Pujita, you can't do away with math. When I say you can't do away with math, I'm not saying that they will force you to study math even for medicine. But the way technology is enabling every field today, There is an aspect of math that you will need to know, an aspect of other sciences that you will need to know even when you pursue medicine or any other field. So you can't really, I have been, if you saw my introduction, I worked at National Education Society of Karnataka to look at the curriculum, what is relevant for today. Today is a day and age where every discipline is enabled by technology. Every discipline needs data analysis, and hence math is something which is really needed. Okay, so that much I will definitely leave you with. So you have to start thinking, why is it that you're not interested in math? And again, I will give you a story from my daughter. So we are a family of math people. Okay, my mother and all her brothers have done math. I have done math in my undergrad. My daughter also loved math. Okay. In school. So I never had to look at, how she's studying maths, because she will get 100. I know that. When she came to 5th standard, and the way I have, kind of worked with her is, I said, no, I coach people. I don't really sit and say, hey, do. And that is the style I have had with my daughter also. So my way of, seeing whether she is studying or not is by giving her question papers ever since her UKG. Give her a set of question papers, you answer it, I will look at it. If there is something which you have not answered correctly, sit down and find out why you've not done good at that. Okay, that's my method. So with maths, I didn't have to worry at all, because she'll always do it 100. When I came to 5th, and she came to 5th, I gave her a paper before her test, and she got 0 in it. And I was quite surprised. And she said, no, I don't understand this particular set of topics. So I thought maybe, this is difficult, 5th standard, suddenly some new topics have been introduced. So I taught her. I sat down and I taught her everything. And then I gave her the same paper again 0. Again, I sat down a 3rd time and taught her, and I gave her the same paper again a 0. So now, she's saying that the teacher didn't teach is not a good idea, is not a good reason, because here I'm teaching and I know how well I'm teaching. Okay. And then when I questioned her, she told me that she just is not interested in maths. And to me, it was a shock. A girl who loved maths till 4th standard, suddenly in 5th, she's saying, I am not interested in maths. So I had to really find out why. And then I got to know that there was a new teacher who had come in school. And, she was not able to control the class. You know how it is in school, right? With these kids, they will say that if you do this, you will get house points. You have different houses, no, green, orange, yellow, jo bhi hai. So if you do something, this, your house will get points, and they are very focused on their house getting more points. So they will do everything towards getting, more house points. The new teacher was not able to control the class. So the kids are kids, 5th standard kids, they, would ask doubts. They say, I didn't understand this, ma'am, and all of that. And she was not able to control the class. So what she was doing is, if you make any noise, if you ask me any questions, I will cut house points. So the students, of course, wanted house points. So they just shut up. They didn't ask any questions, and eventually didn't learn anything. And the girl lost all interest in math, even when I was teaching her, because the teacher relationship with the student was that bad that she started hating the subject, because the teacher made it out like that for her. Now, of course, I being me, I ensured that she learned it and she wrote the exam and she got her marks. But I started speaking to many other parents, and everyone was going through this. Every child was not, being able to do math. And so we decided, a few of us, that let's go and speak in school. Some parents agreed. But on the day of the PTM, most of them dropped out. They said, no, we are busy, and all of that. I went still, and there was another lady who agreed to be with me. And you know what she told me? She told me, Neerja, this teacher who's come to teach my the 5th standard is the best teacher in the school, but she only teaches the 10th standards. And this other lady who was talking to me has a girl in 10th also. So she knows. That girl in 10th has been saying that this is the best teacher. The 10th standard teacher has been asked to come teach 5th standard now. Obviously, 10th standard kids are a little more matured and, they kind of deal in a different way. She doesn't know how to deal with 5th standard. So she said house points, just to bring control in the class, which has worked the other way around. So I gave the feedback to the class teacher, and the class teacher spoke to the maths teacher. The teacher called me, and I went to school and meet her. And she said, "Why didn't you approach me? Why did you have to talk to somebody else?" And I told her this is the situation. She said, "I take it upon me that by the end of this particular year, your daughter would be back on track with her interest in maths." Because my worry was that, forget the marks. If you're not interested, you will not get the marks. And why was she not interested? She said, "I will get her interest back. That is on me." And then she adopted different strategies to engage the students. Of course, she's special focus on my daughter, but everybody else also. And by the end of the year, Sneha was back on track, and I'm telling you, she's going and doing undergrad in maths. Okay. So whoever it was, Pujita, whoever, please reflect on why you don't like that subject. Is it the teacher? Is it some other bad examples? So you'll have to reflect on that. But there is no way of getting away from the subject, at least till 10th standard. And my recommendation would be that you please keep some interest on this subject, because it is important in the current technology world. It is absolutely important. And there are many different apps available, tools available, websites available, which make math interesting. I don't know if there is somebody on this platform who can evaluate all of that and, maybe recommend it to the students. That is something that, you must definitely look at.
Sure, thank you so much. I'm sure that helped, Pujita. And oh, amazing. And I don't think we have any other questions. And I think we're also 15 minutes out of our time slot. So if there's nothing else coming in, then we'll call it a wrap.
Yeah, I have two things to say
Sure.
as I leave.
Sure.
I know they're much younger, so some of the things which I have said, might sound like outer space, but take help in terms of, for you, I know the goals are around what is the course that I must select and what is the career option, because those are the real, near-term goals that you have, because the kind of age group that I'm addressing. Do take help in terms of doing some self-reflections, having the conversations with your parents and, teachers. Don't go because the rest of the world is going towards something. Try to evaluate for yourself. There are plenty of opportunities. Let me tell you that. If you do what you really like, you will shine. That is a guarantee that I can give. There is a platform, and of course there are boys also here, but doesn't stop them from looking at this platform, which is called as Aspire for Her. Can I put it here? Maybe if I'm able to get the website itself, I'll just put it here. Aspire for Her. It's a brilliant platform, started this year in the month of March during the thick of the pandemic. It is, of course, for girls in the age group of 18 to 25, but doesn't matter. You can start it at whatever age you are, and the ones who are beyond 25 also find it so useful. The intention of that platform is to ensure that girls are able to think of intentional careers, and hence it provides a lot of career previews. What are the kinds of careers that are available? And these are senior women leaders who come and talk about either, they will be writing a blog, or there are webinars about different kinds of career options that are there, and a heap of resources, lot of learning resources, mentors available like me. Like, for example, if you want to reach out to me, you can be on that platform and say, I want to, get mentored by Neerja Ganesh, and you will get me as a mentor for you. So, of course, this is for girls, but boys can always use all the other resources which are available. You need to sign up as a member or a supporter. Girls can be members, boys can be supporters, and access all of these resources. I think it's a brilliant platform. 2, I write a lot, and again on this platform, there is a column that I write every month, which is called as Neerspires. Let me see if I can find it for you. You will find even visualization of the goal. Go and read up the particular thing that I have written about visualizing. Okay, I'm getting it here. This is on the chat. So you can get access to a little more, material, my own thoughts in terms of, because I'm addressing students at that age. That's why I'm asking you to read this. A lot of things I'm addressing, I'm saying that what's in it for me. People usually, look at what's in it for me. I would say, ask the question, what's the worst that can happen, and plunge in. Okay, so there are different aspects that, I write about. I think it will be useful for you. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn is a platform that I'm available on. If you are all not yet on LinkedIn, yeah, it is tough. I am on Instagram. I don't know how to use it. But you can still connect with me on Instagram. And, if there is something, then we can figure out a different way to connect. I'm happy to kind of help people out in whichever way. That's my goal.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's so clear to see, like you're just lighting up doing this. So thanks so much for your time. And I think, as Parveen said, this is the perfect way to end the year in terms of sessions. So yeah, and we'll share these links that you shared. This will go up on Facebook and on YouTube, and we'll share these links in the comments.
Sure.
Thank you once again. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next year with more Am Wiser sessions.
Surely. Thanks everyone for putting in those questions, asking those questions. I would really want you to start implementing at least one of the things that you have taken away from today's session.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.